Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I didn't watch the highlights, but I listened to further people talking about the Laker game last night against the Houston Rockets. I did, of course, see as much of it as I could in between Bible study and crawfish eating, which required all of my attention because I had never eaten before, and I didn't know what I was doing. So half of the game was, actually the majority of the game was missed. But I did try to glance at as much of it as I could. And then down the stretch of the game in the last couple of minutes, I started having issues with the link itself. So most of that game I missed, but it was on, so I was able to follow it, if that makes any sense. And the one thing that I can kind of add to my reaction is you cannot let Max Christie be the inbounder on that play at the end of the basketball game. Cannot. We've talked about this on this channel a lot, man. He's a very inaccurate passer just to begin with. It's not a strength of his as a player. He's got a lot of strengths. I think he's a nice athletic player, pointed attack defense, can rebound the ball. Definitely somebody who can project to be a better shooter going forward. I'm a fan. I like the kid. He can't pass worth a damn, y'all, like literally. And anybody who's followed me close enough has probably heard me say this more than once. I truly believe he is the worst passer in basketball. It's not that he is selfish. He's not a selfish player. It's not even that I think he lacks floor vision, because I don't think that's necessarily the problem. It might be hand-eye coordination type thing. I don't know the science behind it. But when it comes to making passes, he's incredibly inaccurate. So if you're going to ask him to be the inbounder, in my opinion, even when he develops into fully who he's going to be, he probably still should not be responsible for inbounding a basketball, let alone at the end of a basketball game when the pressure's tight. Not him. Choose somebody else. So I think, it's one of those things where it's like if JJ followed me, he would already have that in his head. That's how I know he doesn't follow me, because he would already have that in his head. You don't trust Max Christie with passing. You don't. And so I think that was the biggest part of the problem right there. It's just not identifying within his own player a very strong deficiency that player has shown very consistently. And I think that it makes a whole lot of sense to never ask him to do that again, ever. So that's what I can add to my reaction to this game. I don't ever want to see him be an inbound passer ever again in life. Never. I don't care what the situation is. He ain't inbound. Let it be somebody else. So that's the first thing I want to say about that. The second thing I want to say about that is, I really do agree with a lot of the talking heads who are saying the Lakers need to address their center position. I do think that at the end of the day, you need that bruiser. And even when I was telling you guys that I think we need a facilitator very badly, maybe even more so than the center, I still think that center is most important for us in order to win a championship. And the reality is just like some said this morning, I don't remember who it was, forgive me, I can't give you a credit, but they were saying that if the Lakers are not going to bring a center to the situation that can actually bruise with people, they're effectively saying that they need to avoid certain teams in order to advance in the playoffs. Because you're not going to be able to go up against guys like Steven Adams, Jokic, some of these big bruisers. You're not going to have anything to throw at them. Anthony Davis can't do it. And of course, Jackson Hayes and Koloko are not going to be able to do it. And even if I feel that Koloko is probably our best answer, until we make a trade to create a roster spot and then choose him as the player that we're going to move into that roster spot, we won't have him available for more than probably like 10 or 12 more games anyway for the rest of the season. And playoffs are definitely not going to be something he can play in under this contract. So for me, Koloko was the better option than Jackson Hayes in a lot of situations where I need defense. I don't think either one of them really. I think Jackson actually is a better rebounder. I do. Jackson has proven to me he's a better rebounder. But Koloko is probably the better option in terms of trying to give yourself the best chance between the three centers that we have to utilize in these situations. For bruising, I mean, he's not a good option either, but of our options, he's better than Jackson Hayes, and obviously you don't want to ask Anthony Davis to do that. So that's the second thing. I just think that all of those who were saying we need a center, I think they definitely are right. The emphasis on getting a center at this point should be a little heightened after that particular matchup. When you got a guy like Steven Adams, who's coming off an injury, stepping into the game and getting like 4 or 5, 6 offensive rebounds by himself, that can't be what the Lakers settle for, especially if they're going to have some disadvantages at the athleticism department on the wing. which I said a lot about last night. So I want our team to address those things if we can. If we can address those things, then we're going to be limited to who we expect we'll be able to have success against. And so that's just what it comes down to. You want the Lakers to, if they're going all in, have the best opportunity to win. Not be in a space where they're relying upon avoiding certain players, teams in order to advance. So that's really the concern. I don't want to have to avoid people in order to advance this year. If we're going to do all that, then we should start shaving away from some of this and start turning it into tradable equity. That way, we'll be on a timeline that makes a little more sense for what it is that makes sense to do, if that makes sense at all. So, we're a good team. I think, we're in a good spot as it pertains to we're taking care of the teams we're supposed to beat. And a lot of these teams that are not any good, the Lakers are running straight through, no problem. And so that's what I think is encouraging. Many seasons behind us, we thought our team may have been potentially more talented than the team we have right now, but we're not taking care of business against teams that really were supposed to be beaten. This is not a year where I can honestly say that. We've only lost maybe 2 games against teams I thought we should beat. The rest of those games could have went either way, if that makes any sense. So, this team has done a fantastic job of meeting teams at their at the level necessary to compete with them. I even thought we competed pretty well last night, given the fact that we went down by 22 and still had an opportunity to win the game. I thought our effort was really good. I didn't think our effort was all that bad against Cleveland either, especially since we were introducing new players to the team at that point. I thought that, both of those losses really exploited our need for size, though, for a center. I'll tell you that. So I think that's kind of what we take from the 2 losses that we've taken on over the last couple of times we did, is that without that big bruising center to help AD, you really can't compete with teams that have that type of length and size. Atlanta didn't really have that the same way, although I respect Clint Capella. Anthony Davis can kind of see Clint Capella next to, say, Okongwu. They don't have that dynamic. But when you're talking about Steven Adams and his bruising ability, and then Sengun, who's being thrown at you in that starting lineup, those are very physical guys, heavy dudes, push you, low center of gravity centers that just make it very difficult for the centers that we have to really bang with them. And so if you have multiple of those, it's a problem. Another thing that I agree with that I read, someone in one of the comment sections of a content that I was watching had said, you can bet if the Lakers have trouble with if the team is good at offensive rebounding and second chance points, you can pencil the Lakers in for a loss. Now, the Houston Rockets are the number 1 rebounding team in the league right now, from what I understand. So, as I told you guys last night, if we play the Houston Rockets 100 times, I think they have a chance to beat us 100 times because they attack us in some key areas that we have weaknesses, in some areas we can't afford to get hit. And so what we got to do as a unit is try to hide those areas. You know what I mean? If you're in a boxing match and your right eye has been ruptured a little bit, you gotta cover that side and maybe leave something else open to protect that already injured area. And the Lakers gonna have to engage in a little bit of that. Another thing that I've been listening to talking heads talk about is our small ball lineups not having a whole lot of success. I hate to tell people this, but I don't believe in small ball at all. But we talk about this all the time. I don't think there's a such thing as a good small ball lineup. Not without it being a bunch of superb, great players. So you're talking about, like, the only small ball lineup I actually believe in is one that's souped up with nothing but Hall of Famers. You give me De'Aaron Fox, Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, Jaylen Brown, and something like that. Like, that's the only thing I'm going for small ball lineups. If you don't have that level of talent, you have no business being that small. Period. It's a game that's played in the sky. So if the game is played in the sky, then the ones who have the highest chance of being successful are the ones who have the highest reach, who can jump the highest, who are the strongest, who can get easy buckets on the interior, and less likely to be contested properly. That's who gives you the best chance of winning this sport historically. Now, I know we're in the stretch the floor era, and this era has put an emphasis on allowing smaller players to compete by shooting from further away. And if they're able to be effective in doing so, they can give themselves a chance to be very good offensively. But you also need defensive players like the Boston Celtics have, like the Cleveland Cavaliers have, in order to effectively offset the chances of your three-point shots not falling by giving yourself a very good defensive team. If you don't have that, those two dynamics in place, you're going to fail being a three-point shooting team. It only works if you have both. And so for me, small ball makes no sense if you're not going to be a good three-point shooting team. And the majority of small ball teams you're going to put together are not going to be elite defensively. Cleveland shoots a lot of threes. They got stilts, too, in their front court. Mobley and Allen. Boston shoots a lot of threes. They also have guys like Al Horford and Porzingis. You know what I mean? They got length that can block shots and create problems for you. Neemias Queta off the bench, guys who can bruise a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's like it makes sense. And then their perimeter defenders are some of the best small defenders out there. You can put Derek White and Drew Holiday on any team, they're going to be good. You put them next to Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Porzingis, they got championships. And that's why the Celtics are elite. Because them stupid Blazers handed the Celtics Drew Holiday. That's why. So if you want to talk about small ball, they have elite small ball talent and still the ability to match up with bigs if they need to. If you don't have these dynamics, man, you're not going to win in today's NBA. You're not going to win in today's NBA. And so that's my thing. I think the Lakers need to do a much better job of trying to find ways of getting even bigger, although I think we're a fairly big team. You're a big team as it pertains to your small ball players. You actually don't have a whole lot of talent at your center position. So you can be a big team, but everybody's 6'10", 6'9", 6'8". That's going to help you in some areas until you run into teams that actually have 7'3", 7'4" guys. And then you're small again. So I just think the philosophy of small ball is a misguided one. Because when I think about the only team that's really been successful being small, it's the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and God knows whoever else they had in a given moment. Those are the small ball teams. And with the teams that they were successful with usually had pretty good centers. The teams that they really dominated with would have an Andrew Bogut on it. Or Zaza Pachulia or whatever. At least someone big enough to match up with the big centers when they run into the Tyson Chandlers or whomever they run into, right? So that's really what it comes down to. I just want people to understand. The LA Lakers right now, we're lacking in that area. We're lacking in some serious size in the paint. And you're going to be going up against teams that have serious size in the paint. So what do? You hope you can avoid those teams when it's time to play for something. Or you're probably going to lose to those teams. So that's really what I want to say, man. I do agree with all of those who were putting the emphasis on us getting a center. A lot of people are talking about Walker Kessler, 23-year-old center that can block shots, rebound the balls, playing pretty much at a double-double pace. I don't know that he's on the trading block. I think that it's been said that the Utah Jazz do not want to trade this player. I also believe the Utah Jazz could be bluffing to try to raise the value of that player so that people will spend an absorbent amount in order to get it. So I don't think that is necessarily set in stone that they're not willing to make a trade for him. They just want the Lakers, in my opinion, to give up 2 picks for him. And the greed of Danny Ainge has been talked about a lot on this channel. He's a greedy GM, dude. And that greed is going to backfire on his backside. But for the time being, he's going to be able to play up values of players like Walker Kessler. And as long as talking heads continue to put Walker's name out there as a player that the Lakers must get, it plays right into Danny Ainge's hands and playing up the value of that player behind the scenes. It's another thing that's kind of frustrating about what I'm seeing online. Like, would you guys stop talking about this dude so Danny Ainge doesn't have the leverage to raise his value so high in the sky on us? That's part of the problem. If I'm Danny Ainge, I'm like, yeah, guys, keep talking about Walker Kessler coming to the Lakers. Keep demanding that they get that player. So that when I say, hey, it takes 2 picks and Rui Hachimura to get him, you're willing to give it up. Or feel pressured to give it up if you're Rob Pelinka. I wish our team understands. I wish our talking heads understood that dynamic a lot better than it seems they do, the main ones. I wish they understood this a lot more than they show they do, because they really are raising the price tag on all these players by souping them up, putting their name on every damn video they make. They know you got 100,000 followers. They know that that's a good enough of a sway to put pressure to make that happen, because everybody's talking about this player. It's why we couldn't get DeJounte Murray. It's why you couldn't get Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. It's why. It's because the price tag's so high. Why is the price tag so high? Because the demand is so high. Why is the demand so high? Because all these YouTubers and talking heads keep using these players as talking points for people to get clicks. I don't think they get it. I'm pretty certain they don't. The very thing they're telling everybody that we should have, I could argue it's their fault we don't have them. And so that's what I'm here to tell people, man. Stop talking about these players, yo. Stop putting them in everything. Stop oversaturating your content with their names. And maybe the teams that have them won't have the leverage to raise the price tags above that for which we can pay. See, a lot of y'all don't mind the Lakers giving away 2 picks. I happen to not want us to do that. I happen to think that really hurts our franchise in the long term. I happen to think those picks could be damn good if we are not any good. So no, I don't want to give them up just to fill a void on a team that's not even going to be good enough after we do it to win a chip. No. But what will definitely help is if we can get these pieces for lesser than what it is they're being asked of. Prices that are reasonable for our team to pay. If we can get them for those prices, then maybe we can get the stuff that we do need and be good enough to win. That's all I'm saying. I just think that, like, people, you know, as they often say, cut off their nose to spite their face in a lot of cases. Call ourselves Laker fans, but we got to start understanding what affects the market, man. It's the demand. It's a damn demand. We gotta have Walker Kessler. Okay, cool. 2 picks and Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. You're like, hell no, I ain't paying that. Yes, you are, because that's the only way you're getting them. If everybody shut the F up about these names, guess what the price comes down to when the demand ain't so high? You feel me? And you may say, well, we don't move the market that way. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I'm talking to anybody who has a major network talking about the Lakers. Yes, you do. Believe me, because it's not about what you actually affect. It's about what Danny Ainge and other GM can argue you affect. I don't have to prove that you're moving the needle that much. I just have to prove that I think you are, so that I can keep the price tag that high. That I have reason to believe that it's reasonable to tell somebody else this is the price tag when bidding against you. That's all it takes. And that's another thing. If we're not bidding against anybody, don't pay that. I don't need to give up 2 picks for so-and-so if the other team won't even give up 1 pick for so-and-so. Let them wait to the final hour and prove that they have that demand on their player in other markets. Then in the final hour, if they pull the trigger, we could say, well, we lost something. But if they're not able to pull the trigger and we get the player for the price tag we like because they couldn't get anybody to make that move for them that they would appreciate, you know that bet was worth it. You know that was worth it. Now some may say, well, I can't afford that if I really demand it. If I really want the player that bad, I can't afford to take the risk. And that's what they're counting on. You paying too much, hoping that someone else doesn't snatch the player for a price that you can't afford. If I'm holding on to that player, that's exactly what I want. You to feel like you can't live without what it is I got. So you paying too much to get it. No, man. I'm not helping Utah. I'm not helping Utah just like Utah don't want to help us. No. Just like I wasn't helping Atlanta with DeJounte. Just like I wasn't helping Indy with Miles Turner. I ain't helping none of these teams. And they don't have no love for me. Why the hell am I helping them out? By keeping some unreasonable, inflated demand in my mind for whatever they have and being willing to pay too much for it. No. Hell no. You got to be smarter than that. You got to be less desperate than that. And if we can't prove we're not desperate, they're going to keep them price tags too high. And then we're going to be sitting here making demands that our GM make trades that ultimately pay that price. I don't know why he hasn't moved. I don't know why we haven't made moves. Because it doesn't make sense to make the moves available for us to make. It's a huge pet peeve of mine listening to people. Why haven't they made moves? Because the moves are bad, man. Because as soon as they make these moves, they're going to tank your franchise. Because as soon as you make these moves, you're going to be in a hole for 6 years. Those are the only moves available. People saying he's not doing his job. Well, the job is to make sure we don't buy nothing we can't afford or something that's overinflated. It's not just to make moves. Laker Nation, we're not entitled to making trades, fam. I know that that's not what people are telling you. But you're not entitled to what you want just because you exist and therefore. That's not how the world works. You got to have something somebody wants or the leverage to tell them to live without it as they give you what you want. If you don't have one of those two things, you're not getting what you want. So while we're sitting here telling each other, yeah, we need Walker Kessler, Danny Ainge is saying, yeah, well, I need them 2 picks. And if you can't give me them 2 picks, you don't get Walker Kessler. Now live with yourself as you say you need that player. And watch you spin around in circles and shake or loose those picks while you're at it, trying to get that player. Nah, man. I'm playing no mental games against myself. And it's the same conversation you can have a million different places in regards to this league because it's the same thing. Do you have the leverage to make it so that you're not overpaying for what it is that you want? Because believe me, if you don't understand the first thing about leverage, you definitely overpaying. You can pull the trigger on the stock that you want to if it's up 25%. But when it retraces back down to where it was before it shot up so damn quick, you're going to understand you could have got it at a discount if you just would have been more patient. The stock market taught me all I needed to know about that. Crypto market, same thing. Taught me all I needed to know about that. And the way people are moving, they would have bought a stock up 50%. Like the thing's going to shoot to the moon. Bro, that thing is going to retrace. 98% of the time, that thing's going to retrace. Stop. The NBA trade market is the same way. The same thing you think you need to get right now while this dude is playing so great. It's such a high level. Now you got to pay top dollar for this dude. You can wait until he retraces. Right until later. And get him at a price that makes you make so much sense for your team. Makes so much sense for your asset class. But because you got to get him when he's shooting 50% from behind the arc this week, you just need him, you're going to pay the price that comes with that. And ain't nobody wants this player when he's shooting 25%, right? But it's the same player. You were so excited about him when he was shooting 50%. Now you don't want him at 25, you want to trade him away when you get him? Buy high and sell low? Like, no. One has to discipline themselves against that line of thinking so that they don't fleece themselves out of everything they have trying to get stuff that they think they can't live without only to be unhappy when it comes back down to earth. You want to buy it when it's down to earth and then be the one holding on to it when it shoots up in the sky. That way that 50% he's shooting on your team. Instead of you trying to trade for him when he's shooting that well, giving the price tag to the team that has him at that point. No, I want to get him when he's low. I want to get him when everybody else think he's trash. That way I can play him up to doing all that good stuff when he shoots up into having that best shooting percentage. He's doing it on my team. It's no different in the stock market. Everybody want to buy high and sell low and then wonder why they don't have enough to win enough. I'm telling you, this is the problem. And so that's why I talk the way I do. The market does not move with you. What you do have a right to do is buy high and sell low if you think the market is timed the way you want it to be. We need to make a trade now. Perfect. You definitely do. 3 times what it's worth. You can make a trade now. He's not doing his job. He's not making the market move when I tell him to move. That's because he understands what it is I just described and doesn't want to pay 3 times for what it is he wants. That's why. You want to say he's not doing his job? He is definitely doing his job. He's playing it smart. He's not buying high. He's going to lock in some profits because of it. This is a good thing. So I want people to think about that when you listen to your favorite talking head talking about we need to make a trade now. Now is not how the market works. You will wait until it makes sense, then you will buy. That means you got to wait. You got to look at the clock and see that it favors the price tag, not necessarily your demand or your needs or your hastiness or whatever, your lack of patience. That lack of patience is for sure going to play into the other hands of the person that you're ultimately doing business with. They definitely want you to think you need what you need right now. Yes, now. Market doesn't care about your right now, but now will definitely have you paying too much. It'll definitely have you buying high, and likely if you keep that mindset, you're gonna want to sell low, and you're never gonna lock profits. So that's what I'm telling people. You got to discipline yourself against that type of thinking because it doesn't work. If the moral of the story is to win, you're certainly not helping yourself do that. Not playing it that way. So that's pretty much what I got to say, man. Align your thinking if you can with the understanding that the more patient you are, the more likely you are going to get what you want at a price tag you can afford. If the moral of the story is to make the market work on your timing, on your demand, then obviously you're not going to be locking in no profits for what it is you're paying for at all. The likelihood you do is extremely small. You know what I'm saying? You got to wait. You got to wait till it makes sense. You got to strike when the iron is absolutely hot. It's like I always tell you guys, it's a game of double dutch. You can jump in whenever you want, have rope around your neck, or you can jump in when it's timed right and be a part of the game. So that's what I want people to understand, man. You got to time it right, man. I ain't no, we need to make a move. Why haven't they made trades right now? This summer, we thought he was going to make a move. He didn't. He's not doing his job. That man is looking at bad price tags saying, nope, they're not going to be happy with that. Nope, I'm not going to be happy with that. Nope, Genie's not going to be happy with that. While y'all sitting there doing this, that's what he's looking at. And I've been trying to get people to understand this for over 6 months now. So that's all I got to say about it, man. I get a little frustrated when I understand these things and see people who are responsible for talking to thousands and thousands of people still demanding that we make the market move on our clock, when that is not how this works at all, man. And in moving that way, you're going to make sure your team don't get the most of what trades you want made. It's going to be certain. BDL 44, I thank you all for watching.